think, we'll try to, sticky stuff, try to keep this really informal, because it's for your benefit. And I don't know how many of you feel you're familiar at all with the library, or I assume you know where it is. Don't have to admit that you don't. But it is just right almost adjacent to us here, behind us. And I thought what I would do, I did bring a couple of handouts that were passed around. Mine is white, but yours is salmon colored, and then the yellow one. And I will kind of use these as sort of a guide, talk a bit about what's in them. This one I'm not going to really discuss, except to tell you what it is and the 3 or 4 pertinent pages on there. How many of you are really familiar with databases where you find articles in journals or magazines? Yes, somebody's familiar. And so I will spend probably about 10 minutes talking about that and describing how there is a difference between when professors say peer-reviewed scholarly journal as opposed to a popular magazine. Like this is Scientific American. It probably sounds quite technical, but the way they do their writing, they don't use references at the end, so it's not technically a scholarly or academic journal, even though the articles can be very intense and difficult maybe to understand, but they are writing for the lay person, and they might tell you other items that you can read to back up. Like this is a story on a beacon, B-A-C-O-N, from the Big Bang, and so you say, well, let's see once who they were referencing here. At the end, they usually will give you what they call more to explore, just other books and so on, and then something from their archives or their older files. They don't give you a reference list from what they put the materials from or what they took the materials from. So that's a popular magazine, and you can actually look at it if you like. And then we have what we call scholarly or academic, and all of these articles have a large reference list at the end, and you can verify that by looking at a few of the articles. This is the New England Journal of Medicine, and it's one of the premier medical journals in the United States. It's considered one of the best. So it always has a list of references at the end. And I always say to students, well, did you look at the references at the end of an article that they really liked? And no, they didn't look at. Well, that's where you get more information on a particular topic that you like or you think is very good. So I'll just hand one of those around too. Here's a nursing one, Nurse Educator, and that has references at the end also. I want to keep a couple of them to talk about something else in a few minutes. So I'm just going to kind of cover that sort of information about journals, because mostly science people in medicine, biology, and so on use journals. They don't use books so much. So we really need to know what our journals are. And nowadays, most of this information is online. But I like people to get the context. We find young people don't know what magazines or journals are. Usually you see a lot of them in the airports and so on. And some students don't know what a table of contents is. So for those of us who've been on the planet Earth for many hundred years, we were raised with that sort of thing. But if you don't know, you don't know. I mean, that's just the way that goes. So a table of contents, of course, would be like what's inside. And an index is more in depth, usually at the back of a book. Journals don't necessarily have indexes. They have tables of contents. All right, I just want to say a few words, it's probably going right backward for you, but about where the library homepage is and our address. This, of course, is the campus homepage, and you can go to the library homepage just by going to Quick Links Library. And that's the real quick way to do it. It goes there, it's just kind of sitting there, come on. And the other, here it is, and the other thing that's really simple is just our address, which probably can't read it, but it's library.csus.edu. Very simple. So if you were in Hong Kong and wanted to see if we had something in our collection, you can just put library.csus.edu in the computer and you should see this. So this is the library's homepage, and let me just tell you a few things here, which I know I have put some of this, I think, on the back of the salmon sheet toward the end. I talk about library assistance and so on. And so I'm just going to review a little bit of that here. If you wanted to, if you were having trouble finding information, you can go to this Ask a Librarian from the home screen. And there are several things you can do. You can actually come in to the reference desk, which is on the second floor, to the right of the escalator. So just take the escalator, go to the right. Well, you can take an elevator also, but you would still go to the right, unless you're in the south escalator. You could also call us. You can email us, and there are about 3 of us who answer these email questions. We answer them several times a day, and on weekends usually probably once a day. And so if you went there, a form should come up. I see this is rather slow, but a form comes up and you just fill it in and give us your information that you're looking for. You don't have to make a long story. You can just say, I need articles on so-and-so. I've looked here or there and I haven't found any. And then we sometimes will actually send you the articles online, or we'll tell you how to structure the search in the database and where you would look for that particular material. And you can chat also, but you're chatting, generally speaking, to librarians that aren't on this campus. And they're across the United States, as a matter of fact. So sometimes it's a little more difficult, and sometimes they'll throw those questions back to us. So those are the ways to get in touch with us. If you want to know the library hours, and during these semesters, fall and spring, they're quite long hours. We're open every day of the week, and Saturday and Sunday as well, but the hours are a little bit different. It comes up here, it's just a little slow over here. So that's, we might not wait for that, but it's good to look at there at the hours, and also at the bottom of the hours screen, it tells you the exceptions. When we're not open, when there's a holiday, if the time changes, like in the summer. Okay. Anytime anyone wants to say something, just go ahead. This is our screen for searching. You can start right here if you're just looking for books, etc. You can actually put article titles in here, but we kind of shy against doing that. Oh, okay, thanks. We usually tell you to go here, database and article searching. I will say, though, another thing that students will do is they'll go to the second screen. I hope it will go there, where it says advanced screen. I probably can't read that, but I have the cursor on it there. Advanced screen, and you can, come on, I don't want to go. It's trying to do something. Okay, here we are. The second screen, or the advanced screen, here you can go to something called Articles Plus, and you can put in information. You can put in an article title, name of the title of an article, when it was here, not the journal title, but article title. And it will go around and find where it exists. It won't necessarily give you the whole article, but it will find where it exists. So you can search there. It's called like a mega search, or a global kind of search. You can also, I'll just tell you can change these little arrows to looking for something in a title, author, and you can change over here. We many times do this. We change it over here to look for, say, just books, or just articles, just journals. I don't think you can probably read this, so I'm reading it off. And so that helps limit the search, so you're not just looking all over for everything. But I generally don't use this Articles Plus, but it's a place that students always find these places that, of course, is not our first choice, but we always say go to the databases because they're more specific. But, you know, do what you want because you probably will actually find something. So here we go again. We'll just go back to the library. And let's see, we should give you, we have these somewhere. Yeah. A couple of handouts that we're using here. All right, let me go here and talk a little bit. Now, yours is salmon. Mine is white. I could have a salmon one here, so I won't be misleading. But right at the top on the first page does give you the home, our home address, and then it gives you an address for database and article searching. Like I say, this information is online. I have it here. This is rather slow. In fact, I'm going to click on database and article searching, so maybe you'll get there, and I can show you where this is, and this is on a different spot. Then I've given some hints for using the databases. If you're using phrases, you should put quotation marks around them, like more than one word, because the computer searches that then as a single entity and looks for it together, like cat, dog, it would look for those two together, not split up. So try to remember that, it really will help. And in particular, if you're using abbreviations or formulas, something like that. Truncation means that it will add plurals, S's or suffixes, ing, ly, etc. And so you can stop a word mid letters, put an asterisk, and the computer will then look for it in the other ways that it could have endings, and that helps. And then we search in most databases, but I've given you exceptions here. PubMed, which is one you would be searching for geriatrics and gerontology, because it's a medical database. And Google Scholar, they don't use the and or not. Now, if you put it in, it doesn't matter. With some of the other databases, it matters if you don't put them in. So I always use it because that's the way we started out. We had to use those things, so I most of the time use them. And I also listed types of journal literature, because many times your instructors will say, I want a peer-reviewed journal. And that means that other people in the field, in that specific field, have read this journal and look for accuracy. And we have places in the databases where you can click a little box to eliminate non-peer review. So I'll show you that. And academic, scholarly, peer-reviewed, it's all kind of the same thing. Popular magazines don't, as I mentioned, they don't have the references at the end of the article. Time, Newsweek, Vanity Fair, Popular, what's what I'm trying to think of? Oh, People, those are popular magazines, they're not scholarly. And I've given some definitions of what primary research articles would be like in the sciences. They're different in other disciplines. In the sciences, you would have a methods or materials section. And okay, here we go. Digital object identifier is showing up on most of our science databases. It's better to use that number than to use the address or the URL from the journal. Okay, so these are the databases that would be best for you to use for gerontology. The academic search, the nursing, which is referred to as CINAHL, PsycInfo, social science full text, and then these others, PubMed, sociological abstract. So there, you have a choice of many databases to use. And Google Scholar is good to use. You can just put in your browser, you can just say Scholar, and Google Scholar will come up. And it tells you how to link it if you're off campus with your own computers. And the reason you might do that is because if you find some articles with the journals, if you've done your linking, it will say below the citation to the journal before the designation for the journal, it will say view at Sac State, and that means you're linked. You can click there and see if we have it. If you don't do that, then they're going to be asking you to pay for the articles and all kinds of things because you're not linked with us. And then style guides. This, of course, is a summary of a style guide for APA. And there is a YouTube link here that you can go to when you go online to get information on how to search those databases. And the rest of this, I think, is just you can read. All right, so what we want to do, I'll show you first where this APA guide comes from. It comes from research guides, and we'll go back to that in a minute. So that's where this comes from. So you go to research guides, and it is a writing guide. So fairly close to the top, you'll see writing guide. And then the second one is APA style guide. It's the very same thing as this, but it's put together in a little different way. And you just have to use the tabs at the top here, like if you're looking for how to cite from something from the computer, something that's electronic, which most of your citing will be. It will not be from paper because most of it's electronic. And so then it'll tell you how to cite, and it also talks about the DOI, the Digital Object Identifier. If you have one, use that instead of using the URL from your journal. And the DOIs will always appear on the first page of the article. And both of these journals that I have here are DOIs, so I'll pass it around. Because sometimes you have to look around for it. It's very small. It's a long number. It says DOI, so I'm going to pass this around. And this nursing journal is running DOIs also. There's actually a way to find them, but most of the time they now appear, and they appear when you use the index too. So just because it's much easier to reference with the DOI, and it's better. It's like a social security number to the particular article. So if you had a DOI, the instructor said, here's a DOI, please look up this article. You could put it in your browser. It would go right to where that particular article is. It wouldn't necessarily give you the article, but it would tell you where to find it, the name, the author, pages. So try to start using DOIs. And this guide will tell you how to do that, how to reference for it. Of course, if you're using print, there's a little different format. I mean, you can still put in a DOI, but so this is for that particular business. And so once again, I'm going to see if this one will back up a little faster than when I have to click on it every time. It does seem to go faster when I'm just backing up. All right, where did I get those from? Research guides. And there are a lot of research guides that you could look at in there if you wanted to go and look for other medical or nursing guides or literature, whatever. So that's at the bottom of this very important place on the home page. This is the place that's used the most. You can find our journal titles by going here, there, what's on reserve, by course number. But this is what I'm going to spend a few more minutes on. I'm not going to stay here forever, you know, and bore you with everything here, but I do want to, this is probably the most important thing to you. This particular page is going to be changing here eventually, although we've been saying that for years and it hasn't changed. So this page will give you the names of the databases to find articles, magazine, journal articles. And the best thing to do is to kind of pull down here and come to where it says databases by subject. Okay, what is your subject? Gerontology. So there's a place for gerontology. If you just want to look nursing, you could go there. There's a lot of duplication between these two, as well between health and medical science. So actually, if you open any one of them, you'd probably get almost the same databases. I did give you a list of them, and the only ones that are a little bit different are the sociological abstracts and the social science schools text. Because gerontology is a little broader. It looks at health policies. Gerontology, of course, is the study of aging, whereas geriatrics, which I'm a little more tuned into, is you know, more the medical aspect. So let's just go to gerontology and see what we have linked on here. Okay, the nursing index is here first, then the medical, PubMed, psych, info. I don't know, did I put psych? Yes, I did, psych. Very important in any aspects of aging and so on, and geriatrics. So those three we refer to as the most useful. And this academic search premier is very general. You can find a lot of health there, a lot of information on health care and policies. So anyway, that's what that takes you to. So it tells you, again, the best databases to use, plus the ones, you know, the same ones that I have listed there. Now over on the right, research guides, there's under other resources, this particular guide that I gave you, because it has links on, that's the only reason I put it online, is the same thing. So if you wanted to go there and look at this YouTube, it should come up. I think it does anyway. I didn't put it on here, somebody else did it for me. Yeah, so there it is. So, you know, but I just gave you the handout. And so if you wanted to go to this YouTube to understand a little better how to use the databases, there it is. And there's links to many of the things I talked about, the hours and so on. So that's the way you can do that. And I think we'll just look at one of these databases. I'm going to go to the nursing because it comes from this vendor, EBSCO, which is a vendor, it's not the name of a database. We also have students say, I'm using EBSCO. Well, you know, but they have a lot of databases. We don't know which one we're talking about. And you'll see that in a minute. So we'll just do one little search, and then if you have any questions, I'll answer them. Well, I'll try to answer them. Oh, this little guy is slow, isn't he? Oh, yeah, we don't have to do that. When I'm in the library, I don't have to do this. You know, so I have to do it all the time. Okay. So this is what, and I'm sure maybe a lot of you are familiar with the EBSCO logo here. And we're now, right now, in the nursing, the CINAHL database, it tells you. But I want you to look here, choose databases. So if you click there, it will come up with a list of all the databases the library or the campus is funding that EBSCO is, they're a vendor for these databases. So in a minute, maybe, a list will come up and then you can choose to add to that. And the ones that you would be able to add would be all of the ones that have EBSCO behind them here, like academic search, psych info, social science full text. Those are all under the control of these EBSCO people. They have control of many, many databases. Yeah, so it looks like this. So then you can choose these different databases. And this little funny little thing at the end will tell you briefly what's in the database. So, you know, if you went in here and you thought, well, I don't know what green file is, you could click on there and it would show you. But I'm just going to put academic search, which I said is very general, but it has a lot of health information. In there, I'm going to put psych info, which is psychology, of course, and all the aspects. You can put psych in almost any search because there's always something related in the psych sort of way. And then social science full text. And then you have to make sure to click the little OK button. And now we're searching, and it even shows you up here where it says show all. I know you probably can't read that back there. It shows you all the databases you're searching. So now you're doing kind of a mega search. You know, it gives you more options, although sometimes it's not the best thing to do. Now, we had talked before about this whole scholarly peer-reviewed business. academic journals, scholarly, peer reviewed. So here's a little box under the limits, because this is a limiting factor. You can limit. Okay, so now it's going to get rid of all of these popular things like this. Time, Newsweek, all of it's gone now. There are other ways you can limit, especially in the medical area. Sometimes you want to limit by age, by sex, male, female, and like I say, age. There's a lot of different ways to limit. You can put your language, etc., even by things like qualitative and quantitative searching. But you can also write limits in up here. For instance, you could limit geographically to the United States, which sometimes you have to do because you're just getting literature from other areas that you don't want. Now, sometimes you do want the other literature. You can limit by Korea, Europe, France. So those are limits as well, and you can just write them in here. You don't have to take them from down here, and you can write in mail. You can limit the mail. So just remember that these search boxes will take anything that you put in there. So let's just say, do something really simple. Aged, and I'm going to capitalize my and my operator, and the operators are also down here. It's aged employment. Well, maybe I'll just put that in there. When you use from their list, you usually don't have to put quotes around and so on, because it's coming from a little different part of the database. But you could see, like, this is a phrase, so I'm going to say aged employment, and let's just search it and see what we get. I'm sure a lot. Oh, only 7. Well, isn't that interesting? I was thinking you would get a lot.
What about putting seniors?
Yeah,
seniors.
You can do that. You can say seniors. You can. There are many words. You know, there are many words you can use, and you can also go to this select a field, and you can narrow it down by finding those terms just in the subject, just in the title. And of course, in this case, I wouldn't do that. I only have 7 anyway. But if I had 2,000, I might say, well, I want to make sure that it shows up in the title of the article, which means much more specific. If it shows up in a title, because of course a title can't have all the words in it. But just to show you, then you get these articles coming up. There's 7 of them. And if you just see that this first one just has find it, view it at Sac State, it doesn't give you this little code, which is a PDF, telling you the article is right here. In this case, you have to do another step and go to the find it to try to find it somewhere. So these are here, right online, the whole article. And if you like them, you can put them in a folder at the far end. You can also look at a summary where this little hourglass is. It gives you the abstract or summary, so you can read that. And on this other side, there's a lot of ways to limit as well. You can pull this little gauge, you can pull it to bring it up more to date. And you have to click on it, then it will update. So I got rid of a couple of the older articles when I did that. And there are sometimes other terms that they will give you over here. So if you put these in the little box folders up into the little folder box here, way at the top, or I think you can get them out here. Go to the folder view. Yeah, that's what it says. Go to folder view. Then they will be ready for you to either email or print or save on a file or export if you're using something like EndNote. So if I clicked on email, you would just fill in the little email and it would go to you. So that's a good way to save these while you're searching. Now it will not hold on to them once you get out of here unless you have signed in here to the EBSCO people, and you can do that. You can sign in, they'll ask for a password and so on.